Okay, thanks very much. So look, now we're on to the grand finale of tonight, and this is what this is all about. It's about how this all goes together, and it's a life sort of example of how this all goes together. Now, as I said, we've got Farouk and Brian from the CEO of Sinclair Digital Services, and Brian from Superior Essex on here. Now, as I said, I'll let Farouk explain why he went down the path of doing digital everything in his building. I don't find Sparky's that bad, to be honest. But anyway, so a little bit of an intro to Farouk. So Farouk's CEO of Sinclair Digital, which basically it is the Sinclair Hotel Fort Worth in Texas. So I was trying to actually hold this seminar over there, but we just didn't have the funds to do it. So Brian is a Superior Access Communications Vice President, marketing. Sorry. So there's a bit of a background, as you can see. You know, they're both very highly regarded in their fields. So what I wanted to do just before jumping on to the Q&A with Farouk and Brian is I just wanted to play. It's just a short 25-minute video. Mainly it's about me growing up and stuff, but at the end there's a little bit on there about the Sinclair Hotel in Fort Worth. While we're waiting for that. Right. No, that's not coming up, mate. You'll have to share that. Anyone working IT here? AV. John, where are you? The old drag the screen trick. All right, so here we go, guys. Here's the video. All right, and now here we have the man, the myth, the legend himself. Farouk, can you hear us? And Brian, how are you, gents?
Good morning from my side in Texas.
Yep.
Good morning here
Evening
from Pennsylvania.
Great. So thanks a lot, gents, for joining us. Well, I'll say tonight. Forgive me on that because it is actually dark here in Australia. So, but look, thanks very much for joining us. And sort of what I wanted to do with that is, you know, everyone's had a look at the videos of the Sinclair Hotel in Fort Worth, and look, it is very impressive. But Farouk, I was a little bit of information came my way, but I was hoping that you could explain it. What was the background? What was the purpose of going down the path that you did for the Sinclair Hotel?
So I am a developer of real estate, mainly focused in hotels and also commercial office buildings. In 2016, early, I was finishing up a new construction Marriott hotel in Fort Worth and had installed a sophisticated Lutron dimming system, a 56 zone dimming system at a hotel. That somehow did not work when they were ready to commission it. And Lutron literally walked off the job saying that's the best they have done. The system is still in place at the hotel, but doesn't work to this day. It was very frustrating, you know, because it was a proprietary system. My electrical contractor could not figure it out. There was a lot of finger pointing on both sides between the electrician and the vendor. And I was very frustrated as an owner that, you know, and it's line voltage. Of course, 100% LED lights, but, you know, line voltage, not safe for my staff to work with or touch that. And it prompted me that, wait a minute, LED lights inherently, the chips, the LEDs itself are low voltage DC devices. So why are we still using unsafe AC power to power them? That led me to explore, are there other ways? Of course, DC low voltage is in our cars and RVs and boats and yachts, you know. So why isn't this in more commercial buildings? So from traditional two-wire positive, negative DC power, we wanted to bring intelligence into our system, which led me to explore power over Ethernet technology because it had evolved. In 2016, when I was starting to tinker with it, we had 60 watt UPoE power. And in 2019, when Sinclair was ready to open, I was given my first switch from Cisco under my early field trial relationship with them, a 90 watt per port, which is a game changer. So basically today, we are seeing more and more 90 watt UPoE plus switches. And if you think about it, we have realized that up to 3 tons of an air handler on a VRF technology fits within that 90 watt budget. So lighting is something we did in 2016. Since Sinclair completion, and Sinclair has mini bars, window blinds, TVs in our bathroom mirrors. And now we are, our mind is racing towards, what about the air conditioning? The entire mechanical system, that's your air conditioning, that's your exhaust fans, that's your HR boxes, your VAV valves, that's the inlet for your fresh air coming into the building. All these devices can then be powered using PoE technology. And on top of that, it brings an IP-based software building management system where controls become very simple and easy. So we recently started calling what we do is the Tesla moment for commercial buildings. The change, the radical change going from traditional AC infrastructure to this low voltage or class 2 power DC is of that significance. It's very different than how buildings, homes have been powered to this day. And mind you, most renewable energy, your windmills, your solar panels is DC generation. All your storage, all your battery storage is DC. Most of your consumption, 90% of your appliances and consumption in homes and buildings internally is DC. So why are we using AC to transport in the middle? And in this AC to DC conversion, the line losses or energy losses or efficiency differences are in the 15 to 17% range. And you end up doing double conversion. So you generate renewable energy, solar panels, and then you have an inverter inverting it into AC power, then you transport it. Then at the device end, at the far end, you are converting it back into DC and consuming it. So you're doing a double conversion. So on average, you are wasting 30% of your renewable energy in this double conversion. So I think we can now say we are about to open another project in the next few days, actually. It is the first net zero hotel in New Haven. And very soon we'll have slides on that also. It's a lot more advanced than Sinclair. Of course, in technology, 5 years is eternity. And we are in that push to go towards making our future air conditioning, full-size TVs in a building. Even our outlets, our AC outlets that are code required are DC in the back of the wall, and there's an inverter that's inverting into AC for guests to consume. So we think the day is not far when the entire infrastructure within the building can all be DC.
Thanks, Farouk. So, I mean, I've got a lot of questions. I mean, mainly revolving around the movies in your mirrors in the hotel, I will admit. But has anyone else got any questions? This is a Q&A, so we need the Qs for the As. Oh, down the back again. Jesus, you're making me run.
Hi, Farouk. So, yeah, DC power distribution is a path to the future. What about the safety aspect of, obviously, DC not being a sine wave?
So if you notice at Sinclair, we use a technology called digital electricity. Their previous name, when they started the company in 2014, it was called PET, P as in Peter, which stood for Packet Energy Transfer. That's exactly what that technology is. It takes incoming AC power, converts that into high voltage DC, or it can also take an input of DC and it's high voltage. Today it's 336 volt DC, but they are about to implement 380 volt DC. And then they change that into packets of energy. Each packet is 0.84 joules. So very minuscule amount of energy. And they are sending 700 packets per second from the transmitter that you saw, I think, in the video. I did not see the whole video from my side, but in there's a rack of volt servers. Looks like a server rack. And that is transporting or sending. Those are all transmitters. They are transmitting these packets of energy all over the building. And there's an 18-2 cable, an 18 gauge low voltage cable that each pair can transport 1100 watts of power to the far end. That far end can be 6,500 feet away without degradation of your power. So you can go 2 kilometers distance with that technology. So you could be in a campus environment and from one central delivery point from your utility or from your big solar array, distribute power to other buildings on your campus. And then using that, the safety is built in. It's a UL certified class 2 power, but in 2023, the new NEC code is being ratified and they are bringing a class 4 power. So it's limited energy, 1100 watts limited. Each packet is 0.84 joules. There's a receiver on the far end. Only after the first packet is received and acknowledged is the second packet released, So if you have a naked wire or there's a cable cut, you put your finger across, you cannot be shocked because it stops sending those packets. To me, that is a key, that acts like a backbone, a power distribution for us. Because remember, there's a limitation of how far power over Ethernet can go, 100 meters, and you still have a 10% losses there. So we, in our building with a distributed architecture, I think our longest run on the Ethernet cable is about 20 feet. So minimal voltage drop. And this DE, digital electricity, is powering all our switches. So we started using a terminology, a distributed architecture. So at Sinclair, we do not have IDF closets. There are no IDFs. So we have 350 of these small 8-port plenum rated Cisco CDB switches, where CDB stands for Cisco Digital Building Switches. So they're very quiet. They can be in the plenum. And now there are 3 other vendors who make similar products. The newest one I've seen is 90 watts per port, 8-port switch. It fits on the palm of my hand and it weighs about 1/3 of a pound. It's a low voltage DC input, 56 volt DC input, and then all your PoE ports, 8 of them at 90 watts. And it's fiber uplinks also. So pretty amazing improvements in the availability of these small switches that can be out in the field. So instead of long runs of Ethernet cables, we are taking switch close to where the end devices are, the light fixtures are, access points are, and for example, our mirror TVs are, so the switch is very close to these devices.
And to add to that, the code that's going to be coming out in 2023 here in the US, it's going to be class 4 power, will be digital electricity. And it's going to be called fault managed power. So that'll be the technical terms for that technology. So you have AC distribution, right? DC voltage distribution, and then fault managed power, which is a class 4. And there's been no opposition. So that's going to go through the code fairly easy here as it gets approved here by the end of the year.
Great. So I mean, obviously you mentioned before with the Sinclair hotel, that was great. You've got another hotel that I presume is coming out for tender soon. But with you mentioned that the next hotel that's coming out, it's going to be just better than the Sinclair. It's going to be more intelligent. So where do you sort of see all this technology going in the next 10 to say 25 years?
So personally, I think buildings will completely become DC infrastructure. And why do we have AC for the past 100 years? Because your power generation was hundreds of miles outside your cities. Today, with renewable energy, the power is generated much closer to where it's being consumed. More and more homes in US, and I see also in Australia, are putting solar panels either on the rooftop or right in that, if you have more land, right outside your barn or something, So when you are generating power so close to where it's being consumed, and storage is getting cheaper, energy storage is getting cheaper. Look at all these EVs being produced. After they are done with their batteries 4 or 5 years later, those batteries still have 80% of life left in them. And in electric vehicles, your weight and size is the limitation. But in a home or building, that is not a limitation. So you can start, I can see a huge industry of aftermarket used batteries, which will become huge and they'll be much cheaper. So if storage becomes cheaper, generation is already, the cost of solar has gone down in the last 10 years. Nobody thought it'll go down so much. And then wind power, So I think I see in 10 years, a lot more adoption of renewable energies, storage, and then consumption using DC power. You would not need an electrical contractor, a licensed electrical contractor, and building inspections to install this technology. In Fort Worth and also in New Haven, we are not required to have electrical inspections as we install this technology. These are the 2 projects I mentioned, but we are working on several more. Assisted living places, senior living, and also we are doing a large distribution warehouse for a very large national company. I will not disclose the name right now, but we are about to sign a contract. Could be in the next few days. We are doing another hotel, or I'm talking to a developer in San Francisco downtown. In New York City alone, 4.8 million square feet of office space is going through tenant improvement using PoE powered lighting. So I'm just one of several companies who is embarking on this, except I'm going way beyond lighting. I think, for example, we are a luxury hotel, and I may be building 3 more luxury hotels with Intel and Marriott soon. We have 3 devices in a guest room, which you can imagine: an iron, a hair dryer, and a coffee maker. How do I make that go towards, class 2 power? It takes a lot of power, but if you notice, all of them consume power for a very short amount of time. So we want to develop a hybrid battery using an ultra capacitor and lithium battery, where we can have an onboard battery and an iron. So it's a cordless iron. As you put it back in its cradle, it's charging using an Ethernet port or a Type-C USB-C port. Same with the coffee maker. When you make your coffee, it only comes on for 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds to give you hot water, then it stops. You have a 20 amp breaker on hold just for that coffee to be used once a day, maybe. Not every guest in our hotel uses that coffee maker. So we have a lot of unused electrical infrastructure in buildings today. Our technology is reducing copper by 82%. We do not require conduits. Look at the carbon footprint reduction. So the byproduct effect of this technology is a much more sustainable building. Not only 40% reduction in power consumption, but also in the installation time, 82% less copper, no conduits. How much carbon are we saving with that? So very soon, companies will realize going to this technology is environmentally much safer than the traditional AC power.
Yeah, great. I mean, like you make the comment about not needing electricians anymore. I mean, it's going to be a pretty boring building site without electricians on it. I'll be honest with you. But no, I mean, you do have a lot of good ideas there with all this power. But how far can it go? Like we're talking about lifts, and we're talking about these high power consuming devices within buildings. Is there any sort of have you looked that far ahead into large scale equipment, or is it mainly revolving around sort of the in-room?
To share with you, LG is testing a 14-ton. The largest size right now is a 14-ton outdoor condenser married to VRF, fan coils indoor. And I'm sure a lot of your audience is familiar with VRF air conditioning. That is variable refrigerant flow, one of the most energy efficient heat pump system out there. So that 14-ton is being tested. I have pictures and videos of that using DC power. Almost all appliances that say inverter technology, we can simply replace the connector and power them using volt server or digital electricity, high voltage DC, because most or all of your inverter based appliances, washer dryers, dishwashers, refrigerators. I mean, you've seen this terminology in the last couple of years now with inverter technology. Internally, they are DC consumption devices, and they have an intelligent transformer inside. When it sees incoming power to be high voltage DC, it bypasses the inversion. So it's not inverting it incoming DC back into AC because it's consuming DC. So the same thing is true with Cisco CDB switches. Now Cisco is shipping out with an AC input. We are feeding direct high voltage DC. They've tested this in their labs. I have been using them since 2017, and I have 350 of them in one location. I do not have a single failure in 5 years running high voltage DC into a Cisco CDB switch, which the factory ships out as an AC input, because it's an intelligent power supply that skips the inversion from AC to DC and let the DC pass through. We have tested appliances off the shelf with Panasonic and LG and did the same thing, and it's working fine. Of course, now we want the factory, the manufacturer to adopt this. Maybe we have a connector that's UL rated, and the factory is sending that connector. So the warranties on the appliances are valid. One of my next projects would be a multifamily where we will deploy LG appliances that are powered using this high voltage DC from DE, but it's not installed by an electrical contractor. I have nothing against electricians. The fact remains, in North America, the average age of an electrician is 59 years old. The young high school kids are not taking up that profession. So it's not attracting young kids. They rather work with technology. So you are seeing that shift, that trade is losing its appeal to young people coming out of high school, to get into, be a journeyman here. I'm not sure the situation in Australia, but things don't look very bright for the future of electricians in this country.
Oh, yeah, over here it's a bit different. I mean, still a lot of kids want to become Sparkies. I mean, look, there's a couple of other questions that I have, probably one really important one. I mean, like the day that you can actually successfully do an entire site without having an electrician on site, who are you going to blame for all the cable tie cut-offs on the floor? Yeah, there's got to be. I mean, I highly suspect we'll still get blamed for it. The Sinclair Hotel, obviously, it's a magnificent building. Looking back on it now, is there anything in that building? So not taking into the building that you're about to do, which, but is there anything you would have done differently in the Sinclair Hotel?
Absolutely, many things. First of all, I'll make a statement. We learned so much from Sinclair. I can do it better, faster, and cheaper. Now, Brian was very helpful as we were pulling this 18-2 cables for DE. So imagine we have 12 guest rooms per floor, and we have 2 pairs for our hallway, common area lights, and our emergency lights on each floor, which will be the stairway lights and exit signs and stuff. So we are pulling 14 pairs of 18-2 cable, and we are a 17-story building. Can you imagine how many spools of cable we're pulling? So Brian shipped us halfway through the project this 16-core single jacket cable. So we have 8 pairs in that cable. That was off the shelf that he was able to ship. But in our future project, if I have 20 rooms on a floor and I need 20 pairs of these cables, he can custom make a cable for me, one cable that has 40 cores inside of 18 gauge. Then I'm only pulling 1 cable to that floor. Imagine pulling 1 cable as opposed to 20 pairs. So I have 20 spools that I'm pulling together, and so it saves me the penetration conduit, because remember, in this class 2 power does not have to be in a conduit. The only sleeve I have is floor penetrations, and then they're fire caught. So that floor penetration is much thinner, a third the size, when I'm using 1 cable per floor as opposed to 20 pairs per floor. So that's a learning. Secondly, as we learn to optimize our port usage, and as we have gone from 60 watts to 90 watts, and in most cases, the price hasn't been only gone up incrementally, not 50%. When we went from 60 watts to 90 watts, so all of a sudden I need a third less hardware, a third less cable, a third less labor to do the same project. So towards the tail end of the project, 90 watt was approved by IEEE, and Cisco shipped us a 90 watt switch that was installed just before we opened, 1 switch, 48 port. But now you can easily find 90 watts. So when your power budget has gone up by 50%, I need 1/3 less ports. I need 1/3 less cabling to basically I need 1/3 less switches. So it trickles down all the way to my closet where my DE, digital electricity servers are. So instead of a 480 watt 8-port switch, now it's 720 watts. It's the same single pair cable that's bringing power to that switch.
Excellent. I think Kai's got a question here.
Hey, Farouk, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
Yeah, Kai from Curtin. Thanks for joining us. With everything you're saying, and I'm right there alongside you, I think it's fantastic, some of the stuff you've done in the hotel. Yeah, I love Sparkies as well. Trent's all right. But obviously, this is it's fairly new, and you're a bit of a pioneer, like myself. And where do you see some of the challenges with this getting more traction or market adoption? No doubt you've come up against some conversations with consultants, Sparkies like Trent, who gets their nose put out. Where do you think most of the challenges are going to be in getting this adopted more mainstream? So
the easiest way to explain this would be look at the evolution of Tesla, right? And I should have said look at the evolution of EVs, but the reason I mentioned Tesla, it's a great story. It's a great story up until recently, a year and a half, 2 years ago. Most Wall Street analysts wrote them off. They saw it was farce. It will just blow up and the company will be bankrupt. And they will, as soon as the big boys, the big threes and the Germans come out with electric vehicles, Tesla would be gone because their build quality is not there. But Elon Musk has proven, I think he's done his biggest energy storage project is in South Australia. He has proven there's merit, and now everybody's chasing him, right? So why am I not driving an EV, or why is Brian not driving an EV today? Well, mine is coming hopefully in the next 10 days, because we all waited. We wanted our neighbor to buy it first, our best friend to buy it first and tell us what does he think about it. I think the reason I'm giving that example, this is exactly the same. So if you are thinking about buying an EV, you don't go to your regular mechanic and ask him, hey, shall I buy an EV? What would he tell you? No, because he'll be out of work. So if you go to your building electrical engineer or your MEP firm, your mechanical engineering, your MEP firm, and says, do you think I should use this low voltage DC power? Of course, he's going to discourage you because he doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know how to design it. So I think we have to overcome that hurdle. Number one. Number two, we need more choices of vendors out there. So one of the biggest fear developers will have is, well, I'm buying this PoE driver from XYZ company. What if they go out of business? So my company is trying to develop software that manages this whole IP or infrastructure in a building where there are multiple vendors for each product, from switch vendors to your drivers, the PoE electrical LED drivers. So right now there are about 3 vendors that we are in close conversations with to standardize their products they're interchangeable then. I think the moment you have this plug and play interchangeable options available, the adoptability will increase of this technology. And then of course, more Sinclairs out there. So Sinclair has been open for 2.5 years. I will make a statement here in this conference that in 2.5 years, not a single room went out of service because of a tech issue. Not a single room was shut down in 2.5 years because of a technology issue. So does that tell you anything about reliability? We are a hotel 24/7 operation. We are running about 75% occupancy these days. We are sold out most weekends because business travel is still slow during weekdays. So we have never had a room out of order because our lights quit working or there was an issue with our drivers or our technology. So does that tell you anything about reliability?
Was that installed by electricians though?
No, it's installed by my in-house team. So I actually hired some young college kids, and I think
all right. So Farouk, you're breaking up. We can't hear you, Farouk. You're breaking up, mate. Breaking up. Yep, we've got another question down here, Paul. Better not be a bloody Sparky question.
It might be.
Farouk, just a quick comment to say thank you for being the pioneer that we've looked for. In our industry, we love technology. That's our bread and butter. Yours is developing properties, and you've embraced technology. This is a question for Brian, though.
All right.
So, Brian, you've been a BICSI member for a long time, BICSI president, etc. Some time back. What can we do as the ICT infrastructure industry to support pioneers like Farouk in terms of helping him deliver, reach new aspirations, and effectively convince the rest of the property development world to go down the same path?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's been a topic around the BICSI world. All of us installers, RCDDs, technology consultants, MEPs, you name it. So I think people are seeing it as a good opportunity for something new, and the evolution of the network per se, and good opportunities around that. You look at a BICSI conference, you look at your conference, here today, right? A lot of topics around PoE, smart buildings, smart cities, smart spaces, intelligent this and that, right? So there's a lot of that going on. So I think it's for the folks in our ICT community to embrace it, to look at, because it is real. It's getting a lot more traction, what Farouk's doing and others for sure. So really to keep learning and keep supporting it and keep sharing stories of how it works and the learning, right? Best practices. That's what BICSI is all about, is to keep learning that and keep working with the vendors to make that happen, because it's going to keep transitioning. There's no doubt about it. Efficiency, sustainability, all the carbon neutrality goals people are stating today, right? So it's a movement that's moving, right? And for all of us in the BICSI world, the ICT world, is to get more used to it, not be afraid of it, And also to search out, the other thing is to search out partners and search out people that you want to work with and trust. And one big thing is how all this going to come together, right? It's easy to say, I got PoE lighting, I got cabling, I got PoE switches, I'm going to hook it up. I'm going to design it, lay it out, and hook it up. But how does it all work together so we're getting the right data out of it, and then we're using that data to do something with it? So the integration piece that Farouk talks about is huge, to take that fear and doubt and uncertainty out of it and make it all work, right? The magic, right? Make everything talk, work, and do things the way you want to do it. So finding those folks and finding those good partners and people out there that understand that, I think are really key. It's structured cabling at the end of the day. Might be a 22 gauge versus 24 gauge. It might be 18 gauge, like Farouk talked about for some of the other stuff for the digital electricity. But you know, it's still structured cabling. It's network cabling like we're all used to. So it's not a big change there. It's just we're hooking it up to different things. So it's really down to the core. It's not that much different. It's just how we're applying it and finding good partners and people to work with and mentors. I think it's going to be huge for everybody.
I like to add one more sentence to what Brian said. Brian has been a big supporter of what we do. I started speaking at the main stage of BICSI in 2017. And I've had the opportunity to speak 4 times on the main stage. So I am thankful to Brian for giving me an opportunity and sharing with the BICSI members what we were doing in 17 as Sinclair was being in the process of construction. I had done my office building in 2016 to relocate Sinclair tenants to my office site. So, and then show Marriott that this works. So Brian has been a supporter as BICSI president from early on. My first award post Sinclair completion, the morning after our grand opening, also was from Superior Assets. Since then, we've had several awards. We won an award last year at Greenbuild, San Diego, which is a huge event every year. And then many other awards. We were voted the most innovative hotel by DCEO magazine. I was a finalist for a Supernova Award, and many, many more to talk about. But I would like to say that Brian and Superior Assets have been a huge supporter. Brian as a BICSI president and he working for Superior Assets have played a major role in putting us in front of other BICSI members in conferences, in meetings they've had. You know, I've been to their event in Dubai last year, and I'm looking forward to going back to Egypt at a conference in November this year. So he has been a huge, huge supporter of promoting what we have done. You know,
you make it easy for him.
No, that's fantastic, guys. Look, we if anyone else has any more questions, we're probably going to need to start looking at wrapping this up sometime soon. But look, Farouk, I'm also told that you may be visiting Australia at some stage in the not too distant future. I highly suggest that you come to WA. You'll certainly leave loving Sparkies again. I'll give you the tip, you know. So bring you over, we'll entertain you, we'll take you out, show you the Aussie way. You'll love it.
So for everybody's knowledge in the audience, I was born and raised in Pakistan up until my high school. So it was a Catholic school. So all my teachers were from New Zealand and Australia. And my principal, I was a cricket lover and I was an opener for my schools, the second best school. And you all know Imran Khan. So his school was the best in cricket in Lahore and I was the second best school. And so my passion for cricket is what fascinates me to come to Australia and New Zealand and want to see MCG at least once in my life, you know.
We'll meet you halfway, right? Adelaide it is. No, look, thank you very much, Farouk and Brian, for joining us. Yeah. As I said, anyone else, any last questions before we cap it off? Look, congratulations, Farouk, on an absolutely magnificent hotel. I do hope to get over there at some stage and have a look. And probably
one last comment. One last comment. Did you see in the video touch screens in my rooms?
Yep.
Okay, they are made by a company in Australia, 4D Systems. So they also supplied the touch screens for our New Haven project. So we work very closely with engineers in Australia so that we are able to incorporate the thermostat for the AC into the touchscreen in our New Haven project. So that's a saving of a $280 thermostat and elimination of the labor from the mechanical contractor to install them. So it's a team in Australia that works very closely with us. So FYI, Australians have played a role in Sinclair as well with that fancy touchscreen we have there.
Oh, excellent. Oh, well, look, it's the least we could do, really. Yeah, and I'm glad that we could be part of it. You know, I mean, any further seminars, man, if you need me to talk, I will. Happy to be the Aussie rep. No, thanks very much, guys. Thanks for joining us. You know, again, if there's any questions, you know, we'll fire it through, and if you like, we can shoot you through the presentation for the evening, so you can have a look. And just remember, it was presented by a Sparky. So, all right. Thanks very much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See y'all. Any questions, let us know.
Okay, so if we can pull up just the last slide. This is probably the most important one. So we're here. We've got to get to here. All right. It's pretty straight. All right. My recommendation is go around the buildings. All right. Don't try and go through them. They're locked. All right. We did a trial run. No, thanks very much, everyone, for joining us here tonight. I know that the weather was a little bit shit, but yeah, but thanks for braving the weather. Look, we do have just one final surprise, I suppose, that we need to address, I suppose. So I'll hand you over to Paul.
Thanks very much, Trent. Certainly appreciate your excellent emceeing tonight, keeping us all on our toes, which is good. I just want to do a little presentation to an outgoing BICSI board member, Kai Topping. We need you up here. Yeah, hang on, I'll do this way. Oh, you open it up. That's probably better that way. Don't drop it. That's fragile. It's fragile. As you all know, unfortunately, Kai is moving back to the UK. I'm assuming everybody knows. There we go.
They do now.
They do now.
Thinks it's unfortunately.
No, he's a Sparky. I just wanted to say thank you, Kai. I'm disappointed that you're leaving us because you've been an enormous proponent of our industry. You've set the right tone, the right example for excellence, professionalism. You've given us vision, ideas, taken us places where we probably never would have been able to get to. Okay, good. And we're all going to come over to England with you, right? No, we will miss you. And that's one thing I should have mentioned. And he also was the catalyst we needed for our golf days here in Perth. As many of you know, if you've been involved with BICSI over the years, Paul Donovan and I attempted to create a golf day what, about 8 to 10 years ago, something like that? Was it 2011? So it was a bit of a flop. I'm sorry to admit it was a bit of a flop, but we're two non-golfers. We can't even hit a ball straight, let alone organise a golf day. And then Kai got involved, a serious golfer, just taught us the way to do it. Oh, now you're pumping up his tyres. And just on that point, we will thank Ben Mock too for being the driver in that space. You've created a magnificent atmosphere where we partner with a charity. We raise a huge amount of money. This puts the rest of the country in awe of what you guys have done with your golf days. Thanks largely to Ben and to Kai for the things they've done. So I reckon give them a round of applause.
Thanks, Paul. Look, I'll just finish off by saying this seminar has been probably about 12 months in the making. For various reasons, it got put back and guest speakers couldn't attend, so there was lots of things that went into it. Hopefully, you all got something out of it. The whole idea was to just give an awareness to all things digital power. As you can see, we've done a couple of small case studies here. We've done the digital electricity, the Vault server, down on the Yarning Circle. We've even put PoE lighting with Signify in this building. There's a small section of the building that's got the PoE lighting as well. I'd probably suggest if anyone wants to have a look at it, reach out to Trevor. Where's Trevor? Trevor's at the back. Obviously, I'm not going to be here as of tomorrow, so Trevor's probably the person to speak to. So hang around, Trev, and dish out some cards. But yeah, it's all about just giving an awareness, and what Farouk's done in the Sinclair Hotel is just next level. And if I was hanging around, I'd certainly be advocating for a similar type deployment in one of our next buildings, just combining digital power and PoE as much as we could. So hopefully it starts to get a bit more traction because of that level of awareness. But yeah, I think I'd just like to thank everyone who's been involved. Like I said, I've been here 12 years now in WA. 7 years at the university, and I've worked with some fantastic people. Maybe not Trent, but some fantastic Sparkies, suppliers, consultants. Yeah, Ben was also on the sidelines. So yeah, it's been it's been a fantastic journey, and I'll love to keep in touch with anyone who wants to keep in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn, as most people know. So yeah, just reach out anytime you want to chat. I'd just like to finish by thanking Mac. Mac, are you around the back there? How's he gone? He's fallen asleep. Yeah, Mac's kindly donated his time. He's from our AV team, and he's been instrumental in making things work, because I certainly fucked up the invite for some of the people, which you probably would have noticed on the third session there. So thanks, Mac. We'll get you a pint in the bar. That's me.
Thanks very much, gents. So yeah, look, as Kai said, it has been a long time in the making, this seminar, and again, we'd like to just thank everyone for attending. As I said, so make your way to the tavern now. I think Ben's putting $1,000 on the bar. I heard him say before. No, look, thanks very much for attending. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and I'll see you in about 8 minutes.